Qure Skincare went from 0 to $50 million in 3 years. They're gonna do $90 million this year. I sat down with one of the co-founders, Matt, and he said something that most D2C founders just don't wanna hear. People romanticize their brand way too much. From a guy that's built a $50 million skincare brand in 3 years, the whole conversation was just like that. 6 contrarian takes on how scaled DTC brands actually think about brand, discounts, LTV, and retention. I pulled the best parts under 20 minutes. Let's get into it.
I think people romanticize over their brand way too much. And I've had internal conflict with the team and also Christina about this, about this narrative, because they're very protective over the brand. But I think that people, founders care about their brand a lot more than everyone else does. Everyone else has their own life to live, and their perception of your brand is not what you think it is. And at the start, you need to fight for profit. You need profit in order to be able to run the business. You need profit in order to innovate and develop new products, better products. And that comes from a lot of direct response advertising. If you're focusing on branding too early on the piece, you're not going to generate the profits in order to build the brand. And for us, my non-negotiables were world-class products where we don't skimp on the product development at all in terms of product quality, the costs, everything else. Like, there's absolutely not a single shortcut is made, and we actually over-index on that. High quality images, high quality brand presentation, and top authority figures. Now, price and promotions, to me, if we've got those 3 in line, doesn't signify that I'm not building a brand. It doesn't signify I'm downgrading the brand by any means. If anything, I'm making the brand more value. I'm creating a valuable brand. Because I think also with the promotions, consumers forget, and we forget how much as humans we forget. For example, Black Friday, I think it's a good time to increase your prices, not really decrease it. You should have stronger promos during the year instead of Black Friday, because Black Friday, everyone's ready to buy. Buying signals are out, people got the money out, they've been waiting all year, right? The cash is there. Whatever deal you have on that day, they're gonna assume that that's your best deal. So you wanna go more aggressive on the times of the year where the market's not as receptive and the buying signals are lower. And I'm telling you now, I've run multiple tests in this. You can run a promo that's like, let's say 70% off in June. The same customer will come back to the store Black Friday, will be 40% off, and they will completely forget about the 70% off in June.
So kind of when it comes to, I'm doing all things email and SMS, so I can only speak from that perspective. And obviously, email and SMS, best place to send discounts. So, but what do we do, right? When it comes to how much discount we decide to give? I think 2 big parts. We A/B test a lot. We have a big list, so we can always run very controlled A/B test to kind of determine where is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to discount. When we run a sale, we do an A/B test between 2 discounts. Maybe one has higher discount, higher AOV, whichever the case is. And if it works, we put it into the flow so that we can kind of automate that. But every discount, every sale always come with a, what do you like to call it, education, value adding, or content piece that we try to kind of pair them together so that you're not just selling on discount alone, you're selling on value. And I think that one of the big things that we've done is that we collect a lot of zero-party data for our list. Pre-purchase, we collect it. Post-purchase, we collect it. And what that means is that when we send out an email, we can tailor that based on what someone is telling us. For example, one of the biggest things that we collect is, hey, what's your number 1 skin goal? What's your number 1 skin problem, right? Businesses exist to solve a problem. So when you talk to your customers, if you can kind of tailor the message accordingly, that'll be best. For example, we have acne group, we have wrinkles group. They all have very, very different concerns. So if I send out a sale email, if you can tailor that messaging for that particular subset of people, it's a bit more effort, but we've tested it over and over again. The conversions are so much better. There's usually 2 types of LTV, right? There is replenishment and there's cross-sell. And different products have you need to look at your data very differently, right? Most people log into Shopify and they look, what's my returning customer rates? But if you have product from, we have the LED mask, there isn't really a replenishment built in. So the way we look at LTV for that product is a bit different, right? how many percent of people, once they buy the LED mask, how fast are we able to cross-sell them into another products we have in the ecosystem. But on the other hand, the micro-infusion device, it's a very replenishable product, right? Then the way to look at success is, okay, when it's time to replenish, how many people are replenishing? So that's our job at the email SMS side and retention side in general, which is obviously reporting back to Matt, hey, this is where we are and this is what we are going to do to get the numbers back up on a quarter-to-quarter basis. But I'm just gonna say that in general, I think I agree with Matt when it comes to product quality. Your product quality is the number one reason why people are gonna come back. If it's not good, no matter how many email SMS you do, it's not gonna move the needle as much.
So when I advise and coach other founders, I always try and convince them to run the business as profitably as possible when you're at the low seven figures. Why? Because you need the profit to invest back into product development. And I advise them to invest all their profits into product development immediately. We started working on version 2.0 of all our products the second year straight away. Because now we're getting iterative feedback from the marketplace. We understand what to improve and we go straight into 2.0 because we want to be the leaders. We want to be consistently innovating. And when I look at Qure as a company, as a brand, I look at us as a product development company, first and foremost. The marketing stuff we do well, sure, but it all stems from our product development. And without our product development and innovation, then we don't exist in the marketplace. We don't have the growth that we do. So that's how important product development is for us. And when we build the brand, we're thinking 10, 15, 20 years out. We don't want the profit now. We want to reinvest it back in. And for anyone that's even looking to exit a brand, I'm telling you now, a lot of PE companies or whoever's looking to buy the brand will look at how much you're investing back into product development. If you're super profitable, they'll look at that as a negative because they don't think that's realistic. Because they know if they're going to buy a brand that's going to be a legacy brand that's going to last 20, 30 years, you have to have a budget for R&D. You have to have a budget for product development if you're going to be there for the next 20, 30 years and build a real brand or a real company. So these are all little signals of someone that's actually trying to build a brand, is how much they're investing back into product development and making a better product, because product is king. So I advise anyone that has any sort of brand to invest all their products back into product development as early as possible. Normally ones that solve a problem. You can create products, based on hope, dreams and desires, or ones that fix pain problems that consumers have. And if you can solve a problem for a consumer, then normally that has a strong LTV. And products that are used daily. So if the product's used daily and it solves a problem, then that normally transcends into a high LTV product. And the bigger problem or the bigger pain you alleviate, the more someone's willing to give you. That's pretty much how money is exchanged. Money is exchanged when value is created. Value is created when pain's alleviated, and pain's alleviated when you solve a problem.
The highest repeat purchase rate, I don't know if it's even answering the question. It's a supplement brand with a 70% return customer rate. They exist it's amazing. They exist in a niche that, like Matt said, they really solve a very particular subset of problem that even without email and SMS, at least something not super developed. When I walked into their analytics, I was like, what's going on? Why is this magical brand with 70% repurchase rates?
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to hit on home what Louis said then. Like, pick a niche and go as narrow as you can. Because the more narrow you can go in the niche, that you can add more value to that niche. And the more value you can add to the niche, the higher the LTV is.
Whatever data that Matt collects, and we also collect on the email SMS side, our pop-up collects what someone's skincare consumer is, there's post-purchase survey, and don't let it be a one and done thing. Every quarter, we send out a campaign to ask people, hey, and there's so many surveys that we send out, and the good thing is we do use them. For example, every quarter, we send out a survey asking them about their experience, has your skin goals changed? And if that changed, their profile, the number one skin goal metric, or rather property in their Klaviyo profile gets automatically updated. If someone missed their purchase cycle, for example, they bought the device and they didn't buy within the 120-day cycle that we thought that most people would repurchase, Same thing, we send them a survey asking them what's their number one, or why they're not coming back to us. And if it's a form where we can import the data back into Klaviyo, we do that. And the important thing is using those data for your email automations and also campaigns. So all of our flows for Qure, it's kind of broken down into two types of personalization that you guys can use for your brand as well. First of all, first time versus returning customer, that's a very easy personalization that you guys can do. The way you talk to them should be very different. For first timers versus returning customer, the discount you give them should be very different. Second, and we have seen this trend for campaigns as well, which is whatever problems you're solving for them, be very specific. So for us, it's, for example, wrinkles, acne, and dark spots. It's very different for different, your audiences all have very different problems. And when I say this, what we found is that when we send very generic, general skincare content to our entire list, the unsubscribe rates are generally higher when we send very targeted content, which is just laser focused on what a person's number one skincare problem is. So our post-purchase flow works the same way. Okay, email 1, email 2 onwards, what email you receive really depends on what pain points you have. I'll give you things that people usually don't do well when it comes to retention. I think that usually is not part of the conversation when it comes to retention, but there are levers, there are big leverage point. When you fix them, your retention will lift without you putting in too much effort. First of all, your product. So I'm going to leave that. Your product quality has to be good. But on the email and SMS side, the first thing that people usually don't kind of ignore is a list building, right? It's fundamental. But if you guys go back today, take a look at lists, and you go and do a quick segmentation to find out how many percent of your paying customers, okay, so let's separate prospects and paying customers. How many percent of your paying customers are subscribed to email and SMS? Most brands will find that the number for email is like less than 50%. For SMS, probably single digit. So think about it. If such a small part of your paying customer base are subscribed to your marketing communications, and obviously email and SMS is cheaper than media buy in general, then whenever a sale goes out, whenever a retention messaging goes out, it goes out to less than 10% of your customer base. So this is a part that's often overlooked. So you guys should have specific strategy when it comes to list building, especially for your customers, right? Where do customers usually opt in for email and SMS? At the checkout page. This is where you need to optimize. For example, we have a little checkbox that says, hey, if you subscribe to SMS, you get a free product X for your next order. Not only we get marketing consent, SMS marketing consent is very strict. We also kind of bait them for the second purchase, right? Because we're like, you're gonna get this free product for your second purchase. And that's how we are trying to build out our SMS list. I didn't think of this myself. I learned this from Dr. Squatch. We're like, oh, that's actually a very good idea to kind of dangle a discount for your next purchase.
And don't be scared to send emails. I think a lot of brands are scared to send a lot of emails. But if you're not sending 4 emails a week, I think you're missing out. What are we sending
That's
out?
True.
3 or 4?
5 to 6.
So
Matt is the one that pushed me to send.
Yeah.
Matt is the one that pushed me to send a lot. You know, I used to have this like, you know, we shouldn't send that much. But I think we did an A/B test and kind of like an incremental analysis, and we do learn that actually the number of repurchase rates do increase with the number of emails that people are receiving. So credits to Matt for that. Last year, he's like, hey, why are we sending more? I was like, okay, let me try that. And it actually worked out. So more emails, SMS.
I think you have to have the belief that if they want to opt out, they will opt out, you know, and if they want to opt out, then they shouldn't be in your list anyway. So yeah, don't be scared. Send more emails. It's purely profit when they convert, which is fantastic, and it'll just fuel your growth on other channels.
Matt's running a $50 million brand. Louis and I run retention for 500 plus D2C brands at Chronos. Most of what you've just heard is not what you'll find on agency blogs or in Klaviyo playbooks. If your email program is lagging, start the list building fixes that Louis pointed out. The one alone is worth the 20 minutes. More like this every single week.